Hi everybody, I'm John Daly, Professor of Theology and Culture here at Bexley Seabury Seminary. I'm writing a book called The Death of the Beautiful Young Man, The Erotics of Redemption. And I'm doing these videocasts to help me write the book because I have to sort of keep honest by having a new increment every week. Well, I'm still thinking about the introduction this week, and man, I gotta tell you, that introduction is way out of control. It's already almost a book in itself. So I'm hoping that by doing these videos, I'll actually sort of pare down my thinking so that my writing can be a little more efficient. So last week in our first installment, I looked at some images of Jesus nailed to the cross, and we saw a perfect athletic body from century to century to century. Now, that might simply be part of art history. Maybe Jesus' death offered a legitimate subject for a male nude, and the increasingly impressive bodies owned by Jesus might be more about developments in art than related to any theological underpinnings. In any case, it was certainly effective. Last week I talked about trying to purchase a crucifix for my church. My choices were basically King Arthur or an Abercrombie & Fitch model. And that was about it. So my question is, why has the perfection of Jesus' body in his death seemed to work for so many generations of Christians? Is there something more primal going on here? You may be surprised to know that the early Christian theologians were kind of obsessed with the biology of Jesus and his mother. They hotly debated Jesus' physical appearance. One school of thought, championed by Tertullian and Origen, looked to Isaiah 53, the suffering servant song, to insist that Jesus must have been ugly. After all, it says, he had no form or majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. Others, most notably Augustine and Jerome, cited Psalm 45, which by then was considered a messianic text. You are the most handsome of men. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. Well, clearly, the Augustinian side won that argument. It's rare to find unsightly pictures of Jesus in his death, and when we do, it's often because of a different agenda. Take the Eisenheim altarpiece that I mentioned last week. Jesus has the telltale sores of either the plague or ergotism on his body to show his solidarity with the patients of the monastic plague hospital this work was commissioned for. The artist wasn't trying to say that Jesus actually looked like that. Beyond Jesus' hypothetical appearance, however, the church fathers also argued about the biology of Jesus' conception and birth. For the ancient Christian tradition, and for much of the world today, women achieve social salvation by remaining intact. Hortus conclusus est, Dei genitrix, fons signatus. Thou art an enclosed garden, Mother of God, a sealed well. It was very important to the church fathers that the mother of Jesus was never pierced, not in conception and not in parturition. So they declared that her conception and delivery of Jesus left her hymen intact. I think that one is still on the books officially. Blessed Mary, ever Virgin. On the other hand, a man who doesn't allow himself to be pierced is a weakling, a failure, a coward. In the ancient wisdom, men achieve social salvation by allowing themselves to be pierced, or by piercing, say, by going off to war. That's why it's so important to the author of John's Gospel that Jesus was really and truly pierced on the cross, as the narrator's ecstatic avowal makes clear after his mention of it. I think we're dealing here with the mystery of circles and sticks, and the way they relate to one another, or don't. That mystery shows up in all kinds of places. Take a look at this. Here are some eligible young women dancing in a circle around a big stick, a maypole. And some of those sticks are really big. As you see, these guys have made a major investment in this particular maypole. The font and the paschal candle, a circle and a stick. Most of the year they just kind of eye each other, but at the great vigil, they finally consummate their relationship. Some of these sticks are way bigger than they need to be to get the job done. Here's a picture of Bexley Seabury's Lenten array. Kind of gives new meaning to the term frontal, doesn't it? And finally, here we have an image of the unicorn at the end of the story of the hunt of the unicorn, and the unicorn can only be hunted by a virgin, symbolized here by the enclosed garden in which he sits. And I think the stick pretty much speaks for itself. Now, what's interesting is these tapestries tended to be made as wedding gifts for obviously well-to-do families. And it's very interesting that a new couple who are about to pierce and be pierced and are expected to be fruitful and multiply should be given this image of the Virgin Mary and the Christ as unicorn, surrounded by images of fertility. You probably can't see it on the picture here without zooming in, but we have here what looks like wounds. You might think is Christ's wounds on the white unicorn's body. There's dots of red. That's actually pomegranate juice leaking from the pomegranate tree above. And pomegranates are a symbol of fertility because all their many seeds. The flower bestowed at his right foreleg was an aid for women who needed to conceive. The carnation growing against the fence was associated with Christ and the Virgin and was also a flower of betrothal and marriage. And finally, there's a tiny green frog just to the right of the Madonna lily, which was reputed to have been an aphrodisiac. It's kind of a mixed message, isn't it? Giving a newly married couple this piece of art that enshrines the separation of sticks and circles, surrounded by images of fertility. It's kind of like making the body of Jesus beautiful and then saying, but don't think of it that way. That's sacrilegious. Remember, you can see archive talks on our YouTube channel. Thanks to all those of you who are joining me live. It's lovely to know that I'm not just talking to a camera. Hope to see you next week.